waste my life. I don't wanna waste my life. Living in this world.
With the Beatz.
It's just some things, there's no going back. You know what I'm saying?
jwoodbeats.com.
Yeah, I'm not the one with the issues. I hear you. Now here is your tissue. If I'm moving too fast, I might have to dismiss you. And it's really too bad, cause I really will miss you. But I'm not the one with the issues. I left him at church when I made it official. I murdered the curse with my own benediction. Left God in the dirt, call it death of the fiction. Superstition will be served in eviction. Competition will be left in the ditch. Oh my God, it's too damn hot in this kitchen. The fishes of men are now swimming with fishes. Oops, my bad, I guess I'm moving too vicious. Verses sold, I gotta put them on your wish list. Bless my soul, cause I'm dodging your little hit list. I guess you know, you just lost another witness.
Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, I'm out of here.
I can do anything, fuck your opinions and energy. I finally got the epitome. My biggest hindrance was God can't do nothing but fail. Greater is me. I never needed your deity. All of this human capacity.
You want to take acknowledgements or announcements?
Pick myself up and prevail. Cause I don't need anything other than people who fuck with me. Good business, it starts with good company. That's why your boy is obsessed with community. Cause greater is we. We can create opportunity. Doing what God never did, cause a God never could, but a people is all we need.
Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, yeah. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in.
Sunday.
Yes, it is Sunday. It is not Monday. It is not Tuesday. All of my days are coming together. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us for another round of Sunday sessions.
Yes.
This has been an incredibly busy week. Our oldest turned 17 yesterday and decided he wanted to go to Dave & Buster's, and the closest one to us is about 2 hours away. So we made that trek and spent a few hours down in Panama City yesterday. And came back and got rested, relaxed, and then we're going to be hanging out with some friends after today. And so this is really going to be awesome. Some friends who are visiting us from very, very far away, who just so happen to be in Florida this week. But as you're coming in, of course, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell. And as we always remind you, if you're interested in supporting this community, joining this community, getting connected in any type of way that makes sense to you, we'd be more than glad to have you, obviously. And then, of course, we do have merch, so check it out. It's dope. All right, so I'm going to jump in with some acknowledgements, and then Baby Girl will jump in with the announcements. So good to see so many of you in the chat already. I hope you all are having a wonderfully progressive day, whatever time it is. One of the most beautiful things that I love about this community now is that so many people are connecting from so many different time zones, which is one of the reasons I am looking forward to scaling as soon as possible so we can make sure that we can support those individuals and those groups who are in different time zones at times that are comfortable for them. Because, you know, we have people who are on and it's just noon for us and it may be 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
For them. 26. Wow, man. Yes. They grow up like you want to say so fast, but you know, it's just so cliche, but it does feel that way.
It does feel that way, yeah.
So speaking of acknowledgements, man, we're doing our best to launch these Discord groups. And so if you're interested in launching a new group in Discord, a member resource group, whether it's an affinity group, an action group, or an alliance group. An action group is a group that gathers to do something. So kind of like our game night planning, that's an action group. Where we're gathered to plan game night planning. Also, just any of our teams that are actively doing anything that also serves as a group, which shows that Groups can be intersectional. You can be a part of as many groups that make sense to you. Affinity groups are really groups that are about creating safe space for different affinities. Affinities can be racial, they can be interest, they can be gender, they can literally anything. And so we have launched a few affinity groups already. An affinity group for people who identify as neurodivergent, an affinity group for people who identify as Black or African American, an affinity group for people who identify as part of the Pride community. And we have a lot more that we want to roll out. And we're mainly rolling them out just to kind of give you some ideas of how you can get involved and how you can kind of, for lack of better words, take control of what you want to see represented in the community. We want to create space for that, and we want to make it easy for you to do that. So we have shared some resources in our volunteer channel on the Discord. So you look for the BridgeCity Volunteers channel on the Discord, and you will see those resources there. Also, and this isn't in my notes, but you're gonna see us moving away from the word volunteers, because the more and more I think about it, I've never liked that word, like literally. And now I know why. Volunteerism sometimes takes on the posture of human sacrifice, and that's not what we want in any shape, form, or fashion. And so, and I'm just kind of saying that because when y'all hear me say start moving away from that word, I don't want y'all to be weirded out. Let's see here. And stay tuned to the very end of the show. We've started doing something different now. And that is rolling the credits at the end of the show. That'll show you everybody who's involved in making this community a great place. And it's also a good way for you to see who's already involved and the different ways you can be involved. And so you may find something that's a good fit for you. So please stay to the very end so you can actually see those credits roll. All right. See, I only did 7 minutes. I'm good.
So you're doing good.
I'm on
Okay.
one. I'm on one.
All right. Let's see if we can keep that up. If you haven't already, go ahead to Amazon and look up Christ Held Up, What's Taking So Long. Thank you so much to those who have already ordered the book and left a review. We are still in the process of sending it out. So if you're waiting on your signed copy, please give us grace if you can. Sure. We would definitely be sending it to you. But if you order the book and do leave a review and want a signed copy, please email us where it's sent to. You can email dd@dldd.us. We'll also drop our website at some point today in the chat, so that way you can go through the website as well. Also, we're so excited. Next week, we are trying our best to make it possible for FAQ Sunday. It's going to be fun. We have a play on FAQ, friends and questions.
Yes.
So we're going to kind of have some fun there, play some games, just try to have a good time. So if you can make it next week, come on and make it to that as well. And also, as my husband was talking about, we do need volunteers, mainly for the live shows on Sundays and Wednesdays. And so if you are open to helping out with some, even if it's just the call-in show that's only once a month, you can help out. We're going to drop that link in the chat as well. So you can look at the calendar and see where you can assist.
Can I jump in there real quick?
Yes.
And that's for those of you. What I love about the calendar link is that's for you if you say, hey, like I want to help out, but I'm not sure if I want to get involved, if I want to get committed yet, if I want to get connected. I just kind of want to test the waters a little bit. That's what that link is for. Like it's a great way for you to get involved and just see if you like it. There's no pressure. There's no pressure. Now, if my wife likes the way you work, she might pressure you a little bit. You'd be like, hey, come back next week. But other than that, like that's an easy way to get your feet wet and to get introduced to us. But then also the other thing is, which she'll talk about anyway, but that's for those of you who looked at the forms that we drop in every Sunday and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to commit. And when people see forms, they feel like commitment. And I'm like, yeah. you do know that none of this stuff is binding. Like if you can join the community and just stop showing up at any time. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody gonna be mad. But no, So some people kind of feel that pressure when faced with forms. And so those are some really easy ways that you can sign up, get involved with no sense of commitment and not feeling like you got to give us your firstborn.
Yes, yes. And also this Saturday, we do have another game night going on. So this one has the last one we did. But if you enjoy just games, hanging out, meeting new people, networking, just jump in our Discord. We will have our Discord link at some point throughout the show today. So we would love to see you there. And it starts normally about, what's it?
Ooh, don't make me laugh. I think it's 6 Central. Yeah.
For us, yeah. And so if you're able to just, and you can hop in and out. It's no obligation to stay there a certain amount of time.
Come. Yeah. And it's also for the most part family friendly. So if you got your kiddos, I know I'm trying to get mine in there probably the next. Well, will I be here? I won't be.
You won't be here.
Okay,
yeah.
Which would
when we can.
Yep.
And they're available. And as Father said, we do have new merch coming out. Man, we've been getting some great feedback on the merch. Thank you all to whoever supported thus far. We do have a code that you can use for a discount, about 20% off.
20% off.
FAQ Sunday, all caps. We'll throw that in the chat as well.
And I'm sorry. See, like it's not my time to talk, but
we got all the additions.
People ask me like, how do you have like over nearly 300 videos in just 7 months? And I'm like, I don't know if y'all can tell yet, but I like to talk. Multitask, right? But we are introducing a new design that'll be the first design that we've done for the actual Sunday sessions. And so I love the trust issues graphic so much. We're going to put the trust issues graphic on the front of a shirt and a hoodie. And then on the back of it, it'll say Bridge City, building community without superstition. And we'll have a QR code. So if anybody sees that shirt and scans that code, it'll lead them directly either to our website or to our Sunday Sessions playlist. Oh, that's what it's going to do. Sorry. It's leading them to the Truth Issues playlist. That's what it'll do.
I like that. Yeah.
Bam. Woo. Done.
And thank you to Alexandra who became a new member.
What's up, man? Welcome aboard. Yes. Let's progress and survive. We honestly appreciate you. And that's just a great opportunity to shout out the beauty of being able to support through something like the YouTube membership program or Patreon, because that's micro giving. We understand finance is a tough thing for a lot of people. We even have very limited margin in our own lives. And you Google us enough, you'd see how poor we used to be, and I don't know if we can say we're not poor today. We're just a little bit more comfortable. But Patreon and YouTube membership are a great way to, donate through micro doses, and it's easy. And there's no commitment on your side. If you want to cancel it, you can cancel it. They don't run it by us where we be like, nah, they can't cancel this month. What they talking about? It's not going to be anything like that. You can give as low as $1.99 a month, as high as to whatever. And then, of course, there's also Cashapp, PayPal, Venmo, and all that good stuff. All right.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we do have, again, the post-session Hangout. So if you want to join that, we're going to drop that link in the chat. We may not be able to touch base in there today, but we do have some awesome people who you can connect with and speak with as well. So join us on Discord. Just in general, Discord is a vibe, if I must say.
It really is.
Yeah. Conversations.
I've been enjoying it.
Yes. So I love it.
All right.
You want to jump in?
Let's jump into it. Let's get ready to have this conversation. I hope y'all have been enjoying this series. I know we've only been 1 week in, but last week was so exciting to me with this conversation, especially just using the matrix, to open it up, which is really cool. And we'll still kind of use some of that imagery and some of that language as we're moving forward today. To properly platform the spirit of today's conversation, I'd like to open up with a quote that most of us will already be familiar with. And that is, I want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. And most of us know that quote as coming from Matt Dillahunty. And so just if you're excited about having this conversation about truth, by the way, if you didn't know, the name of today's conversation is Nothing but the truth.
Nothing but
I want to live my life in a place where I am living as much as possible by nothing but the truth. So help me. You know what I'm saying? If y'all are excited about that and excited about this conversation, will somebody just go ahead and type in the chat, nothing but the truth. That is our commitment. That is what we are living for. That is what we are doing our best to try to attach ourselves to. It's just nothing but the truth. That doesn't mean we're not going to speculate. That doesn't mean we're not. Oh, thank you, Maya. Man, we're gonna do our. We're gonna speculate. We're gonna explore. We're gonna imagine the world. But when it comes to what we make our decisions by, when it comes to how we treat other people, we're gonna do our best to be committed to nothing but the truth. To be honest with you, I have somewhat of an obsession with the truth. As a matter of fact, Bridge City, before it was called Bridge City, was called what?
Truth Nation.
Truth Nation. That because I just have such an obsession with trying to know the truth and just the need to know things that are true, especially when it comes to my life. Like I need to know those things. I don't like lies and things that obscure the truth because it negatively impacts my ability to accurately understand and navigate the world. And perhaps one of the toughest lessons I've learned throughout my own deconstruction is that misunderstanding can be costly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like somebody purposefully obstructing, your view of truth. This stuff can be costly for you. Now, as a person who spent 28 years attached to ministry, that was costly for me.
Yes.
That long years, man. All the time that I spent praying about something when I could have been studying, when I could have been learning, when I could have been upskilling, all those times that I felt like that what God really needed from me or what life really needed from me was me to lock myself in a room and pray and cry and snot and tear and all of this stuff.
And when they say you just gotta wait on God, I feel like that's what that does. Sitting in the prayer room and just basking in the glory, you're just waiting. You're wasting time.
Just waiting in the water, wasting time. You know what I'm saying? And this is the pragmatic truth that Pascal's wager conveniently overlooks, but the Cave of Shadows does an excellent job demonstrating. And I'm not talking about Aladdin here. We're talking about Plato, and we're going to get into that a little bit. So I want to give a few consequences of being out of alignment with truth, and I'm pulling this from my own experiences, and you can see if any of these fall with your experiences too. And babe, we can just do kind of popcorn here. I'll start with the first one, and the first one is false expectations, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're out of alignment with what is actually true, and when I say actually true, trust me. We're going down the rabbit hole today. Like we're because even determining what is actually true is often very difficult. And so we're going to get into that. But when you're out of alignment with truth, especially those things that are easy to know, it can definitely set you up for false expectations in life,
Yeah.
And even I think I deconverted in 2014. It took me an entire 3 more years before I realized that, I still have a lot of false expectations that I pulled from that superstitious worldview, which basically mean I had a bunch of expectations that were not based in an observable reality. So I was expecting things to happen that I had never seen happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's what that mode of living by faith had kind of shifted me to, that it's my job to expect the impossible because God can work a miracle.
And sometimes you get to a point where you convince yourself you've seen things happen that you haven't.
Ah, yes. Or you convince yourself that the things you saw happening were really because of something that you didn't see happening.
Right.
And so and I saw this often, like when people would get financially blessed by God, it was very rarely the story where I was walking down the street and money just fell out. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even, I was walking down the street and I found a bag of money. You know what I'm saying? That'd be nice for everybody.
It's
always somebody sent me a check. Somebody stopped by and put some money in my hand. Somebody paid one of my bills. And then it's like, God did that. And so then now you start giving God all the praise while mistreating the very people who you are literally depending on for a lifeline. And then you're confused about why life doesn't work out for you. And it's those false expectations.
Wow. And that's good that you start with that, because that totally leads into poor decision making. So misunderstandings, mishaps, untruths leads to poor decision making. Making choices based on false information can lead to undesirable outcomes and missed opportunities. Man, it's so many examples of this, but I think where a lot of people can relate is with your finances, right? There are people who still making poor decisions because of pastor, and not to say you need money to run any organization, right?
For sure.
Right. However, it serves a congregation best if we give out the truth of why are we using your money? Why do we need your money? And not lie and say, hey, even if you only have $5, give that $5 to God today. He is going to bless you. And I think that's where it leads to poor decision making when it comes to our finances in the church, when you're trying, because you're getting taught, or you're getting told that you need to spend your last in order to get the most.
That's a good caveat or a good point, because what they end up doing is telling people that this is how money works. The way that money works is you give your money to God, and then God grows your money and gives it back to you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give into your bosom. That if you give, God will open up the windows of heaven. And so now every time you're facing a financial challenge, instead of looking at things like budgeting, instead of looking at things like investing, instead of looking at things like upscaling, instead of looking at things like career changing as an option, your mind goes, my best avenue is to give money to God. And I need to find some flashy, shiny, greasy preacher to give my money to. You know what I'm saying?
More favor.
Because you're going to get more favor.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right that leads to poor decision making. I did think of an example of a time that I've actually, I wasn't thinking of the giving thing, but I've done that quite a few times. I've definitely given money when mathematically it didn't make any sense, but I would not allow myself to engage in particularly finances from a math point of view. I was so far gone that like I didn't have to be able to afford to give. If there was an opportunity to give, it was God testing my faith. And I needed to show God that I don't care about this money, bro. Have it all. So that was me. But probably one of the poor decision makings that I did, and it's debatable of whether it was poor, but I remember when I was when I was in it was either middle school or freshman. I think it was middle school. Me and Chaz had our singing group that we had been working on for years. And then we had that moment where we're getting ready to sign our first record deal. And I had went down to Alabama and for the summer and got like reinforced in my faith in the holiness aspect of it. And so when I came back after the summer, I was an entirely different person. You know, I was already saved and preaching before, but I wasn't extreme. And so when I came back, I told Chaz, I can't sign this contract because that's secular music and I can't sing secular music. And I literally took all of my CDs, my Drew Hill CDs, my Casey and JoJo CDs, my R. Kelly CDs. See, I burned my R. Kelly CDs before everybody else.
Funny when he told me I burned all my CDs. And I'm like, you burned the CDs? The CDs didn't do it.
And I don't know if y'all have ever burnt CDs before. It's not actually easy to do. You know, this isn't wood and paper that you're dealing with right here. Probably could have killed myself messing around with that, you know. But that is definitely an example of poor decision making. And that wasn't the first or the last.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out that leads to also sacrificing, feeling the need. I don't know if you ever how far everyone has been in it, but in at least in the Black church, growing up in the Black church, you have a sense of overly sacrificing yourself, and when you have that sense of I have to sacrifice, whether it's for family, whether it's for, I have to go to every function. It could be small, it can be big, but when you sacrifice yourself, it does lead to poor decision making.
Ooh, but see now, and you just hit another one, because when we talk about this, we often only deal with the religious stuff. But one of the biggest things that we try to support on this channel, I love that. One of the things that we, yes, one of the things that we try to support on this channel is that realizing that superstition doesn't just impact our religious relationships, but also impacts just other aspects too, because religious superstition is so pervasive. And that's even in familiar relationships. And sometimes it's because we're family. You have to do this. You're supposed to do this, regardless if the math doesn't make sense. So I remember at one point in time, in my first marriage, you remember me sharing that I used to try to go to everybody's house for the holidays.
Yeah.
And like, so we'd go to her people's houses, my people's houses, and then we got to go everywhere, because if we don't go, somebody's going to say either, he taking her away from us, or she taking him away. And then after a while, I was just like, this is not sustainable. Like, I'm killing my gas. I don't even like everybody cooking like that, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? I'm uncomfortable in tight spaces. And, these family environments is normally everybody packed up in the living room, in the kitchen, and you bumping up against everybody. Like, I already grew up with you. I don't got to grow next to you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm putting myself through all of this discomfort, not actually paying attention to the impact that it's having on me, psychologically, mentally, financially, and just for my damn peace. I think I said it 3 times: psychologically, mentally, and my sanity. That's how important it was. Yeah. But I felt like I didn't have the right to engage that type of decision making. And it took me a long time to get there, to be like, oh no, this is my life. And if I decide that I got a good reason not to come, I can.
And now you're truly standing on business.
Standing on business, player. Standing on
with
business.
No.
Okay. Okay. So I'll hit the next one. Yeah. Increased vulnerability to manipulation. Now that. Oh yeah. If you don't have an attachment with truth, and again, like I said, I'm doing my best not to make this kind of like a one size fits all, because as we're going to explore in this conversation, truth is variant. You know what I'm saying? There is objective truth, but you're going to see how hard it is to live by objective truth once we get into this. But there is this, if you don't have a way to kind of engage the truth in your life, there is an increased vulnerability to manipulation. A great example that we both saw of this. Were any of you impacted by the blessing looms? They pop up like every 15 to 20 years, where someone says they have this great idea to help people make money that they pulled from the East. It's this great Eastern way of money pooling, and it's called blessing looms. And the idea, well, it's always called something different, but it's always like this little flower. And they try to use this beautiful imagery of flower power and everybody giving to the middle. And it's just like you get some people together and you give, and then every month somebody gets a payout. And interestingly enough, every time these things resurface, just like MLMs, they always resurface among Christian communities. And so within 2 weeks, we had 4 to 5 different completely unrelated Christians reach out to us saying, hey, and they're all leaders in Christianity, reach out to us saying, hey, bro, there is this new way to make money, and God is all over this thing, And I'd always listen, and every single one of them, I walk them through, hey, this is not sustainable. Someone's taking advantage of you. And this well is going to run dry. And when it does, a lot of people are going to feel used and betrayed, because that's what you're doing. You are using them and you're betraying them. And whether you're doing it based off of your ignorance or not, you no longer have the excuse, because I just walked you through exactly why this is a scam. And guess what? They still did it. Every single one of them. Not one of them stopped and said, dang. Because it's like, I'm a big fan of Westworld. Our family is rewatching it now. But there's a point, there's these points in Westworld, specifically in season 1, where the robots are not able to recognize anything that would point to the truth of their reality.
Yeah.
So you can show them a picture of the diagram that they were built by, and they're just going to look at it and say, it don't look like anything to me, you know? And so sometimes that's what happens when you don't have, I don't want to say a source of truth, but when you don't have a point of reference for truth, then even when someone is trying to point it out to you, it's very difficult for you to catch.
For you to see. Absolutely. And that leads to the next thing. It also affects ineffective problem solving. Without an accurate understanding of situations, finding effective solutions becomes challenging.
Yes.
And oh man, with this, sometimes you don't always see, because you constantly told there's no other way but God. And so if you're dealing with a problem and you try to find your own solutions, you're going to have those around you, in my experience, who says, no, you're looking for every other way but God's way.
Yes.
Open up to this scripture, open up the Bible. And it is never really specific, though. It's like, have you read the word today? You know, and so problem solving just becomes, let's look up.
You know, just imagine how cruel that is, though. When you know, and let's be honest, and just as a pastor, I'm saying this with boldness, and I don't care. I may be exaggerating, but I don't know anybody who honestly believes that they can hear the voice of God. I know people who say it from the pulpit, but I've also sat in the back rooms with those people. So I don't know anybody who honestly believes that you can hear the voice of God. And so then to tell other people that you need to depend on the voice of God for your life, knowing that you don't know anybody who's ever heard that fucking voice, is the cruelest thing in the world to me. It's insane.
It is. And it leads to a lot of, again, when you go back to talking about false expectations, it leads you there, and therefore you get stagnant, and sometimes you end up not making a decision at the time you need to, and you don't end up solving the problems. And that's probably why we see, because there were churches in the DMV area, they gave out free food every holidays. They gave out bikes, clothes, but guess what? Going into the new year, the next holiday, the same people are going to need the same assistance. And so even when you're dealing with, what is the purpose of events? Are we solving community problems? We're not even doing that. You know, we're actually just putting a Band-Aid. You know, barely that.
That was my 2012 epitome. And I've shared this story a lot, but I don't mind sharing it, because I want, if there are any pastors who are creeping in and watching, I want them to really wrestle with this. You know, my church, Kingdom Central, was very big into helping out. Oh, yes. Yep. We were really big into helping out, into partnering with other organizations to do stuff like the homeless stand down. But then we would also create events ourselves. Like we did a McDonald's giveaway, which we had to fight the manager at McDonald's to pay for people's food, which was very weird. It was like, hey, we want to buy 200 McDoubles and just give them away. And we had to fight for that. Actually, initially, we just said, hey, we want to give you a certain amount of money and cover everybody's up until this amount of money type of thing. But anyway, and we did that, and then we did the gas giveaway. And the gas giveaway was the last time I did anything like that. Because we did the gas giveaway, and everybody was so excited. We shut the city down, which I remember we had called the local police department while we were planning to do it, trying to get their support, saying, we don't know the impact that this is going to have on traffic and stuff. And they were like, oh, we don't want nothing to do with this. And what happened the day of, it shut the city down. Dothan is not a big city. But it was experiencing big city traffic that day because so many people were lined up to get free gas. And some of those people were running out of gas on the way into the pump. And some of those people were crying, and we were, having to push their cars up because we weren't just paying for the gas. We were also pumping the gas, washing the windows. Because in my mind, the way this had been sold to me and why I was attached to it is this is how you show people the love of Christ. This is how you show people the love of God. And so I was really excited about that. I was like, yes, we are about to make a mark on our city. And we did. We did. My church became one of the fastest growing churches in this city. But that day, while the news was out there, while my church members are excited and they're crying and they're hugging people, I've drifted off to a corner because I felt like absolute shit. Because what I felt, and it probably didn't help that I was getting my first degree during the time in sociology, but I said, we didn't help these people. We gave them false hope.
Wow.
We put $15 in everybody's tank. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was going to be ran out in a few days. And seeing that old lady cry reminded me of what poverty really is.
Yeah.
And that you just giving me a little $15 boost today doesn't do anything to significantly change this situation.
Right.
And that's when I realized, and it's just kind of going back to that, like, not knowing the truth and engaging with the truth can be costly because we wasted a lot of resources not even making a dent. And we really did it trying to look good instead of really trying to do good.
But you as a pastor just stopping to critically think in that moment, is this helping? Shows your genuineness. Like, no, I really want to help. So is this what we're doing, these events and things, these giveaways, is this really helping long term? And so I do appreciate that. And I hope your older members appreciate that as well, which is so funny because his older members still rock with it. They still call him pastor and everything. And
I was the hood pastor. They might like me now more, even though they can't say so in public. They might like me now more.
Yeah. So what else does it call?
I think yours is next. I just did the last one.
No,
You did last. Oh, so it is me. It is me. Believe that in them. Absolutely. That's right. Always telling them what they want to hear. Erosion of credibility. And I experienced this, especially in them early years, which is likely why my church didn't really start growing until about 2010. It was 2009, I think. 5 years before I deconverted and walked away. But consistently being misaligned with truth can harm your reputation and credibility among peers. So like for them early years in ministry, nobody trusted me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it wasn't because I wasn't effective. It wasn't because I wasn't articulate. It's because I kept trusting the wrong people. I kept ending up in bad situations. I kept ending up on the short end of the stick. And as much as people loved my ministry, as much as people loved the experience that I created, they could not trust that I knew what the fuck I was doing.
What you were doing, yeah.
And it took me, as much grief as Pastor Mike and Dr. Vernon gave me, I learned a lot working with those two men, primarily just because of how fucking human they really were. Because then it was just like, okay, yeah, here's where I've been fucking up. I've been trying my best to ignore the practical and treat this like this is spiritual because of what these motherfuckers are saying on the stage.
Yeah.
But when I get in the back room, I'm finding that, so all of y'all are treating it like it's practical, but preaching it like it's spiritual.
Yes.
And so this is how you're protecting your reputation while mine is being drugged through the dirt. Because you won't find a Christian that won't laugh at me when I say, when my pastor died in Ozark, I thought we were going to try to raise him up from the dead.
Yeah.
But the fact that every Christian who hears that laughs lets you know that most Christians are fucking hypocrites.
Yeah.
Why even pretend to believe it then?
Right.
Why pretend to? Okay, I'm sorry. This is not the anti-Christian day. I'm sorry. Sundays are for community.
Learning, growth.
If you're a Christian here, listen, it is not my intention to offend you in any shape, form, or bash you. It's not my intention to offend you. That's probably going to happen anyway. But it's not my intention to bash you, not on Sundays. And only time I really bash Christians is in my troll videos. Yeah,
because a lot of times you deal with bullying, and unfortunately, if you think, I have a God in the sky who's powerful, and he's going to get vengeance. I can act any kind of way to other people.
Oh, yeah.
And my bad behavior will be excused. And so if you're going to throw out and dish out bullying, expect people to fight back. Just throwing that out there. But in the next one, stagnation of personal growth. Clinging to falsehoods can prevent you from learning, adapting, and growing.
Yes.
Intellectually and emotionally. And that hits the thing there, because even from my experience, there are people that I know that won't read certain things because they know, when I read this, I may learn about some piece of information that will discredit what I believe, or that would put a wrench in my thoughts and my reasoning for how I'm living thus far. So
yes.
I think that plays a huge role into how you maneuver in life, how you grow in life. And one thing that I love that you always say is, what I know to be true today may not be true tomorrow. But if you live by already know the truth from times I wouldn't even hear to witness the truth, but I know it without a shadow of a doubt, then that hinders your growth. To me, your all around growth, period. And that leads over to your professional career and your personal self.
That's so true. Because I think everybody who knows me, who's known me like for a long period of life, will honestly be able to say from 2014 until now, Darante has become a completely different person. He's lost over 400 pounds. He's improved his financial outlook. He has a stronger family than ever before. His kids are happy, doing well. Got 2 who may go to the Ivy League if they so choose. And that happened because I realized, just kind of going back to the top of this conversation, is that misunderstanding can be costly. And it had been costly for me in the areas of my personal growth and my emotional growth. I realized that, and again, this just kind of comes back to some of my own issues, that I had forced myself to believe that I absolutely needed things that I knew from childhood that I didn't.
Yeah.
But I had kind of learned how to coach myself to seem, which this is masking, to seem more human to other people. Because from a very early age, I had experienced this dehumanization effect that, Darante doesn't respond to things the way other people don't respond. And at first it comes off as flattery, like, he has an old soul. He's been here before. It comes off as flattery, but then it'll come off as, he's a robot, he's, all these type of weird things. So I started coaching myself into emotional attachments, even when I didn't necessarily have those emotional attachments, because it becomes like, I think we both experience stuff like this where people say, well, why don't you do what the other person does? Why don't you love me like other little children love me? Yeah. Why don't you want to do and so I started taking all those things as script and kind of reprogramming myself to attach those things. But when I went through, when I went through my own deconversion, and particularly it was first with my dad, because I've spent like almost my entire adulthood with father issues, because it's such a common it's such a common phrase that's in the lexicon, that if you did not have a father growing up, that you have a hole that needs to be filled, right. And this is part of what makes Christianity so attractive to people who don't have fathers, is because then God is presented as this ultimate father, right. With such language as, when my mother and father forsake me, then God will take me up. And so I dealt with these issues for the longest, which kept me connecting to men, expecting them to father me, because I felt like I hadn't been fathered. So I needed to be fathered. And then I think it was 2015 where I was like, oh, no, that's not something I need.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't want to sound cold here, but mothers and fathers are social constructs. You know what I'm saying? They exist biologically more so as donors. What happens from there that makes them mother and father has to be built by relationship.
Right.
It don't exist automatically. And not having that relationship don't make me any less of a person.
Right.
And so it's like, no, dude, you fathered yourself. You're good. And that was, if I didn't let that go, I'd still be looking for somebody to father me. And, you know, so I literally had to call, like, I've messaged my dad and let him know, hey, bro, we good. I release you from that role. Seats taken. Ain't no hole there. We're good. You never tried to be. And I finally realized I actually don't need you for that. And I'm good. I'm good. This is why I cannot stand pseudo psychology, which Christianity has gripped its hands in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it has a lot of people attached to a lot of unhealthy ideology that keeps them stuck in relationships that have no benefit for them whatsoever. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that was good. That was good. And I did just add an extra note here of consequences. All this ultimately to me can lead to depression and mental health instability, right?
Yes.
And so when you start to learn more, there are people who don't champion per se in the way that we do. There are some people who, as they start to learn more, they get more depressed, depending on how long they spent serving the Lord or serving the church or serving their parents, or believing their parents or their guardians who, you raised me this way.
Or sharing it with their children.
Sharing it with their children, right? Or even, I think in the previous week, we talked about the dangers of lying to your children head on with Santa or the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy. And we don't really pay attention how that can sometimes lead to mental health instability or depression within that person. And so I think that's something that needs to be looked into and really taken care of with sensitivity as parents or as people in general.
Absolutely. I can remember a time, I can remember a journey that started in 2014 and continued through 2020, where I was realizing that most of the relationships in my life were illusory, and that they were ornamental but not functional, you know.
Yeah.
And it started with a critical examination of my leadership team in 2014. That actually started in 2012. A critical examination of my leadership team and realizing that, man, one of the reasons that pastoring had been so hard for me is that, and that life had been so hard for me, was that I was living alone. And I was unaware of the fact that I was living alone. So I was living like I had this large support system, because according to the illusion I did, but I was always having to do the supporting. I was living like I had this, I was living like the reflection around me was accurate. And this is why I said, no, this was an illusion. It was ornamental, not functional. I thought I was surrounded by people, but I was actually surrounded by shadows, which means you're only good when the sun is shining. But even then, you're not helping me do anything.
Yeah.
But then I also realized, like, damn, that wasn't just my church team. That was my family. That was my friends. I had allowed my life to kind of be built by convenience and not been very intentional about holding people accountable to the relationships we're in. Yeah. So like, and that likely stems from always having to forgive my mother.
Yeah.
Over and over again. You get into that place where you don't hold people accountable for being better in how they deal with you.
And that's the underlying thing that Mudley pointed out, honoring thy parents.
Yes.
You know? It's like, no matter what they do or what happens, whether they're there or not, you know, you must honor thy parents in order to be favored. And that's
it's a detrimental trap. Yeah. And it's especially and I love to hear some feedback from the other communities, but I know especially in the Black community, it's detrimental because then you end up raising children who you force to praise your dysfunction, and they are going to practice what they praise.
Right. Ooh, that's a word right there.
They're gonna
practice what they praise.
That's
and
right.
It's so true.
You know, that's how you get what we used to call generational curses, which I remind people are often generational choices, but those choices are reinforced by the generational trauma that we continually pass down to our children. Which is, you know, if we're not deconstructing and deconverting from toxic religion for no other reason, it should be for a healthy next generation. You know,
as we can see,
man,
is needed.
All right, so we're going to talk about the allegory of the cave, which talking about the illusion kind of set us up perfectly for this. And babe, I'm gonna let you take the first two, and then I'll pick up at departure from the cave.
Awesome. Well, imagine a cave where people have been imprisoned from childhood. These prisoners are chained so that their legs and necks are fixed, forcing them to gaze at the wall in front of them and not to look around at the cave, each other, or themselves. The prisoners cannot see any of what is happening behind them. They are only able to see the shadows cast upon the cave wall in front of them. The sounds of the people talking echo off the walls. The prisoners believe these sounds come from the shadows. So here, Socrates suggests that the shadows are reality for the prisoners because they have never seen anything else. They do not realize that what they see are shadows of objects in front of a fire, much less that these objects are inspired by real things outside the cave, which they do not see.
Very good. And so I don't know how many of you are familiar with this allegory, but it is one of my favorites from the Republic. And it's this idea of basically just imagine that you've been trapped into this one view your whole life. And in this case, this view is the view of a cave. And behind you, there's a fire burning and there are things walking past that fire. And so, but you can't see anything behind you because you're chained. Your face is fixed towards the front. So if you've seen this your whole life, what is reality for you is what you've experienced, is what you've seen. And so while those of us who are in the know, the people who may be behind you and have a better view, can see that, no, bruh, those are shadows. To you, those shadows are real things, not just reflections. In other words, they're ornamental, not just functional. They're not they're functional for you, not just ornamental. And a part of that comes because as the sound is coming in, it's bouncing off the wall. And so you think the shadows are the ones who are giving you that sound, who are having that conversation. And so they set up this dynamic, and then they say, now let's imagine moving from the cave. So Socrates then supposes that the prisoners are released. A freed prisoner would look around and see the fire. The light would hurt his eyes and make it difficult for him to see the objects casting the shadows. There's that, you see how the Matrix referencing the light hurting the eyes because you're using them for the very first time. If he were told that what he was seeing is real instead of the other version of reality he sees on the wall, he would not believe it. In his pain, Socrates continues, the freed prisoner would turn away and run back to what he is accustomed to. The shadows, the light would hurt his eyes and he would escape by turning away to the things which he was able to look at. Oh, that's so good. And these he would believe to be clearer than what was being shown to him. Man, that's right, Maya. It's hard to have an open mind to things you've never seen or experienced. And what I love about this is in the How to Human conversation, and what's the last conversation we did? Oh, Change My Mind. In both of those conversations, we started stemming on this point of how what we think, what we believe, what we hold is true is highly correlated with what we identify as safe for us and what we identify as comfortable. And in this kind of allegory, what you have is, at least from Socrates, from the character of Socrates' perspective, is he's talking about that transitioning from this comfortable truth to a newer understanding of that truth. that now conflicts with the solidarity of that truth, which is uncomfortable. And in this sense, he's doing a great job of painting the discomfort by talking about, like, no, when you're changing your mind about things that are really pressing to your reality, that shit hurts.
Yeah,
that shit is uncomfortable. And so imagine, and just to kind of give a real tangible example, imagine a couple of parents who are firm believers that God is a healer and a restorer and a deliverer, and they have a child who has been struck ill, and they are praying over that child, and they believe with all of their heart that their God is going to heal that child. This is them. This is in the unfortunate case that the child dies, that's the moment of the prisoner being freed. That's a great way to talk about this discomfort, because what that couple is going to have to wrestle with immediately.
Why didn't God heal?
Why didn't God heal? And that's kind of like the prisoner coming out of, because now you have a way to talk about it in a way, in a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But even in that moment, even experiencing that freedom that God didn't heal and God may not be real, that thought becomes so scary that it's like the light of that fire burning towards your eyes. And if someone is there with you to say, hey, no, it's okay. I know this hurts. I know this is really bright, but this is reality. And we're going to help you through it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In that case, you could be there, you could try that. But in this first scenario, what Plato was pointing out through Socrates is that person is more likely to say, this is too uncomfortable for me to bear. And I'd rather go back and stare at the wall.
Wow.
Even though I've experienced something that now makes me question, and I even have the evidence that what I thought was wrong, that's still more comfortable for me because I haven't transitioned out of the pain phase.
And you know, it's so unfortunate. I've heard there's a family who have 2 special needs children, and one, the first one, what isn't special needs, and they are Christians, and they believe that, oh, my child was meant to be this way. I don't know why God chose my child to be special needs, but we're here for the journey for it. And so it doesn't lead to the route of, per se, let me really dive deeply into what I believe, and is this working? Is it right? It just readjusts what God is and what God does and why he does. And you'll never know because he's so mysterious. And isn't that sad that you have some people who will adjust so much to say, the God that I love, who is love, who I claim to be love, who is more powerful, put this condition on my child for some reason, and my child has to live this way. And yes, and it's like, that is so damaging. It's so unfortunate that some people will choose that route.
Yep.
And they will live in that.
They'll live there.
And then their children will live in that.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. That is because they're going to be reinforcing that ideology.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. What I loved here, he said he would escape by turning away to the things he was able to look at. You know, and that's that thing, you know, if people in this case, sight is a metaphor for understanding. And so sometimes the moment, and we see this a lot in education, the moment people feel like they can't understand something, they don't, you know, they become resistant to it. Nope, I don't understand this. Nope. And that's a major, it's a major stumbling block, because I mean, imagine wanting to be a dancer, but then finding out that, ooh, the first time I do it, I'm not great at it, so I'm not going to do it anymore. And that's what you do when you run away from a topic because you don't understand it. Yeah. Of course you don't understand it. It's new to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
Just like the first time you dance, or the first time you sing, or the first time you play an instrument, you know, this is good.
Yeah. Or the first time you eat something, you may not like it, but once you digest it and you try it again, you figure it out.
Yes. Okay, I like that. I like that. Socrates continues, suppose that someone should drag him by force up the rough ascent, the steep way up, and never stop until he can drag him out into the light of the sun. The prisoner would be angry and in pain, and this would only worsen when the radiant light of the sun overwhelms his eyes and blinds him. And this is this constant reminder that the journey into what is true is often very uncomfortable and downright painful, you know?
Yeah.
And slowly his eyes adjust. Oh, there's the light at the end of the tunnel. To the light of the sun. First, he can see only shadows, which is kind of the paradox or a paradigm shifting, but a paradox to be sure, reflecting what he saw in the cave. At first, as his eyes are adjusting to the light, he can only see the shadows, and then gradually he sees the reflections of people and things in water, and then later he sees the people and things themselves. Eventually, he is able to look at the stars and moon at night until finally he can look up upon the sun itself. Only after he can look straight at the sun is he able to reason about it and what it is. And what I like about this from a philosophical point of view, and of course this is philosophy here, is that what Plato seems to be hinting at here is that not only is this journey painful and hard and uncomfortable, the more you begin to adjust in this journey, you're still at a disadvantage until you're clearly on the other side. And I think even when I think of my own deconversion, because that's probably the difference between deconstructing and deconversion. Yeah. Deconstructing was the process, the painful, discomfortable process of being willing to come out of the cave, deal with the discomfort of the fire, trying to figure shit out and not knowing what the fuck I'm looking at, and then being pushed, literally by black bodies being killed on the screen all throughout 2015 through 2018, being pushed further out of the cave through mounds of pain and having to deal with the light. And it was only, kind of like out that you get to be on the other side and say, oh, okay, I think now I get it. And I think that's one of the uncomfortable things about truth. And that's what we'll kind of get as we get a little closer, as we get through the cave and on the other side of this conversation, is that truth is so, it's so hard to grasp, because truth indeed is a language we use, but it is so much bigger than our perspectives are actually able to grasp at times. Yeah. And I think that's what makes that journey hard.
Because truth isn't stagnant.
It's not. We treat it like that. Yeah. And what we mean when we say truth isn't stagnant is because there is nobody who actually has a full picture, then truth has to evolve with our understanding of it.
Right.
All right.
So Socrates continues saying that the free prisoner would think that the world outside the cave was superior to the world he experienced in the cave, and attempt to share this with the prisoners remaining in the cave, attempting to bring them onto the journey he had just endured. He would bless himself for the change and pity the other prisoners, and would want to bring his fellow cave dwellers out of the cave and into the sunlight. This sounds like a good sermon up here.
Doesn't it though?
Oh, thank you for the super chat here.
Yes, that is beautiful. I think y'all might have been doing it at the same time.
Appreciate it, Cal. Appreciate it.
Oh man, it was really what I found safety and truth. Love this channel. Yes, thank you. And we love you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. No, I like the fact that you hit that pause there, babe, because that is a really good place. And that is, I do think we all kind of experience that. We go through that moment of where you kind of feel that superiority a little bit. Yeah. And in this case, we're not talking about in the supremacist sense, nor in the arrogant sense, but you begin to like we had a conversation, or we've had somebody call and, you know, say things like, well, how do you think the rain is coming? And then you be like, oh yeah. You know? And you're like, again, I was on a phone call with one of my preacher friends, and he was talking about how he felt like how he always gets sad when he think about Noah's Ark and thinking about all the dinosaurs floating out there with the people. And I'm just like, huh, okay, I think I'm gonna end this. I don't think I want to be friends no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. But no, you know, we do go through that process of once you do kind of finally start getting an understanding of truth for yourself. And in this sense of truth, we are talking about in the sense of having a relationship with reality and having as an accurate relationship with reality as you can with the tools you have and the understanding that you have. You do kind of seem like, oh, snap. You know, there's a sense of superiority here, but it's the kind of sense of superiority that says that eventually moves you to the place that I pity these people. And now, like, I want to go and help. You know what I'm saying? I want to go help find a way to help these people engage a life. And then also you begin to and look at that last line, which actually no, I was about to jump ahead of you. Okay, you go to that next part.
The returning prisoner whose eyes have become accustomed to the sunlight would be blind when he re-entered the cave, just as when he was first exposed to the sun.
Okay, hold up. You got to stop right there. Because I love that.
What? Hold on. Why does it feel like I'm reading the scripture? Like, come on, next read the word.
Read the word.
Stop
read.
Right there.
That's what Bishop Jakes did. Read. But no, I love this. Again, I love the paradox here because it also describes. He also points out how difficult it is for people who have become enlightened, for lack of better words, to journey back into the cave. And he says, so now when you go back into the cave, because you're so used to the light and you're going into the cave to help them out. The problem is when you get to the cave, you can no longer clearly see.
That's the
okay. Read. Let me stop.
Give me the command. Hello.
So, babe, don't start nothing. Don't start nothing.
All right. Okay. The prisoners who remained according to the dialogue would infer the returning man's blindness that the journey out of the cave had harmed him, and that they should not undertake a similar journey. Socrates concludes that the prisoners, if they were able, would therefore reach out and kill anyone who attempted to drag them out of the cave.
So look at this. Now, because his enlightenment, or this character's enlightenment, them living out in the sun, them experiencing the sun, and they want to come back and tell these great people, tell these people that they love, that, oh man, there's this big, beautiful world out here, and you got to come see it. You got to be a part of it. The problem is that when you come back in their world, you're the one that looks blind now.
Yeah.
And so, and you know what I'm saying? And so, like, think about it this way. Imagine if you were a part of a conservative family. If you were a part of a conservative family and you've left that family and you're living out here in the light of enlightenment, you're having your time in the sun. You know what I'm saying? Oh, bless you, Randy. Thank you so much. Yes. And you're out here in the light of humanism and secularism, and then you decide to go back into that cave of your family and tell them that, hey, y'all, I think I found a better way. And then they say, well, what about abortion? And then you say, well, I believe everybody should have the rights of choice. And then they're going to say, see there, you've been blinded because you no longer see things the way that I see things.
Right.
And I think that's what we have to remember about line of sight. Is just because my sight has changed doesn't mean their sight has changed. And if their sight has not changed, they're still going to consider me the blind. So when I say, no, I think people should have the right of choice, man. I think we should, protect autonomy. When I say that to them, that just sounds like, oh, you've been harmed by the woke culture. You've been harmed by enlightenment. This is what all that enlightenment has done to you. And now you're trying to make me be a baby killer just like you. And so now you become an enemy. This was a great paradox.
Yeah.
Did you have anything on that before we move on,
No,
babe?
that was good.
Awesome.
That was all very good.
Oh man, yes. Okay, so I'm going to go to Brand, and I want us to do a little truth experiment. We're going to do a little truth experiment to kind of further drive this point home, because I think we just cracked into something in this allegory that most people never even jump into. But okay, I'm trying to click. Where am I going? I'm going to Brand. Okay, so everybody who's in the chat, type in the chat what color this is. Now, for the most part, because even though we are a part of different time zones, different cultures and stuff, no, the screen didn't go out. I put color up there. But just type in the chat what color this is, what color you see here. And I'm going to leave it up for a moment just because I want everybody to have some time to type. But you just tell me what color it is for you. All right, I got you. All right. Everybody, it looks like everybody said blue. It looks like everybody said blue. Okay. So let's talk about this. Is that actually blue? This is what we're going to use to pivot to the second half and to bring this conversation to its point. Is that actually blue? Is blue a truth statement? Color terms are strongly variable by language. Some languages consider blue and green the same color. So had those languages been represented in this sample size, then that would have, then they likely would have said, well, this might be green. Yeah. You know, which also shows, just to illustrate, why you have to be careful with statistical research. But if the sample size is not reflective of an accurate populace, then you're always going to get biased information. Yeah. So we could have easily walked away from this experiment and said blue is an objective reality. But others have monolexic terms for several shades of blue, which are considered different. And then there are other languages like the Mandarin King, which denote both blue and black. So somebody else may have answered black, which, and this is actually, I find this fascinating. This is green, blue, black, purple, red are colors that are highly correlated to each other in different cultures. Ancient Egyptian culture, ancient Kemetic culture, green, blue, and black were ultimately often recognized as the same color or representing the same thing. And just for those of you who are interested in the kind of, I guess, anthropology of it, sort of, it's due to the blackness of soil and the greenness of vegetation and the blueness of water.
You see how that's
I just love it. Because that's how we do things. Like, you know, like that's how we do things. But so I highlight that to say perhaps one of the reasons that we do have so many trust issues as a species is because even the truth seems to be untrustworthy at times.
That's good. Say that again. Say that one more time.
Perhaps one of the reasons that we have so many trust issues is because even the truth seems to be untrustworthy at times. After all, whatever it is that we believed before that we no longer adhere to, at the point we believed it, it was the truth for us. Just as with the things we believe today, which should be a sober reminder in the context of the timeline of our evolving universe that our relationship with what is true is still in its infancy. And the major part of what has likely contributed to our lack of mastery of the truth was the necessity of being able to share information quickly and effectively as a matter of survival. And so, in spite of the many criticisms of, and many of which are valid, of the negative impacts that societal structures have on our time, it seems that time itself has been the reward, as evidenced by the increasing number of people who are finding the time to interrogate the truth of their reality instead of depending on other people to define that truth for them, and as opposed to just being stuck in survival mode. You know, so at a time where I don't need you to understand this, I need you to run or you're gonna die. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of time for people to sit down and say, okay, but why is this lion going to try to eat me?
Mhm.
I haven't done anything
Right.
to the lion. What is the nature of this animal? What is the motivation? There's no time for any of that.
There is no time.
There is no time for that, right? But as we've increasingly kind of built community, and that's the power of community. Yeah. As we've increasingly built community, and it's been an experiment. You know, society has been an experiment because the moment you remove God from it, then there was nobody at the beginning who knew what was supposed to be anything. Yeah. So it's been this experiment, and we've been fucking up all over the place. But thankfully, we've been learning from our fuck ups little bit by little. And because of that, we've given ourselves the time to actually do things that, 150,000 years ago, none of us would have the time to do, because we'd all be fighting off disease. We'd be fighting off death. We'd be fighting off starvation. But because we've shifted as a species by far and large, and of course, this isn't a global reflection, but just by far and large, we've shifted as a species. We've given ourselves more time to actually think about, like, is this really, is you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so this is how you get people who can express themselves in different arts ways, who can now do more things. But now this is also how you get people who can sit down and talk about, hey, this is where life is for me, and I want to deal with the reality.
That's good, pointing out that taking the time to interrogate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interrogate where you are.
And so conversations that were once restricted to a privileged fraction of a fraction are increasingly finding their ways into coffee shops and barbershops in the communities of the common. Yeah. Though we still have much work to do, this is something that I think we should celebrate. When I stopped believing in perfection, it enabled me to value progression.
To value it, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's funny that you noted that, because even while participating in progression and using the resources from the progression, when we were in the church, you get a sense more so of to be against progression, but not realizing that you're participating and a contributor to that progression, whether it's just with your money.
Absolutely, for sure.
So yeah, that's a good point too.
So let's explore how time, as we get ready to somewhat wrap up, has allowed us to interrogate truth by highlighting the different types of truth that we found ourselves wrestling with, as demonstrated by our color experiment. And so we're going to first start with objective truth. And objective truth refers to facts that are true regardless of individual beliefs, feelings, perceptions, or experience. These truths are independent of human opinion and can be verified through empirical evidence. What we just discovered is that, and let me just come over here, this being blue is not an objective truth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about what type of truth that is, but it's not an exact. Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Ooh. The color blue corresponds to light waves within a specific range of wavelengths, approximately 450 to 495 nanometers. This is an objective, measurable fact about the physical world. Regardless of what we call it, the light exists at that wavelength.
Wow. Yeah.
And just kind of going back here to talking about that time has allowed, moving from survival mode has given us time. It's also given us tools. Tools has given us time, because I wouldn't, outside of, having vision and language, I wouldn't be able to tell what color blue is objectively without a spectrophotometer.
Yeah.
And I hope I pronounced that word right. Spectrophotometer. Yeah, something like that. And so that's that idea of objective truth. So objectively, then the color is not blue, green, black, red, or anything. Objectively, these are light waves that exist on a frequency. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna let you take subjective truth.
And that leads to us to subjective truth. What is subjective truth? Subjective truth is based on personal experiences, feelings, and opinions. It can vary from person to person because it's influenced by individual perspectives. And you remember that saying, and people, I see that people still say it, that everyone has their own truth in a sense. So it could be a situation going on, a circumstance going on. It could be something that was taped and videoed or evidence showing, and it's like, well, that's not my truth, that's their truth. This is what real, and it's literally like, hey, we do realize that this is subjective. This is your personal viewpoint on that, right? So subjective truth is how a person perceives the color. And when we talk about when Darante showed the color blue, might differ to biological factors like color blindness or personal associations with certain colors. One person might find blue calming while another might not. It could be hot, if you remember. We watched the conversation.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. Blue from the astrophysics standpoint is hot. Yeah, that is absolutely right. Which is interesting in the non-denominational charismatic churches. We used to talk about that because you want to be on fire for God, so we talk about being white hot and being blue hot. So I love it. Oh, the invisible food. But I love this because it's definitely because that's another thing we don't think about, how it's not only culture and language, but even biology can impact how you perceive something.
Wow. Yeah.
And so then where the truth for you, as far as the description of that color, is going to be something very different. And if everybody, and if you represented the norm of society, then the idea of blue as a color would not exist. Because it would be an entirely different spectrum. The objective truth would not change. It would still be a specific range of wavelengths, approximately 450 to 495 nanometers. What is that, nanometers? Okay, I like saying stuff differently, but anyway, it would still be that. But if the majority of the population was colorblind, then the language description of calling it blue would likely not exist. And so I love that. But it also brings us to linguistic or cultural truth, right? And this truth arises from the language and culture one is a part of. It's shaped by shared beliefs, practices, and agreed upon meanings within a community. So again, some languages do not have separate words for blue and green. For instance, in some East Asian languages, the same word can refer to both colors. And this shows that the categorization of colors can be culturally specific. Now, as a side note here that fits with this is one of my biggest problems with standardization in education, is that standardization kind of becomes a source of truth that isn't mindful of cultural and linguistic nuances.
So true.
But even even when I was a kid, this used to aggravate me about grammar, right? Because you got to speak proper grammar. And I'm like, when you start trying to enforce this idea of proper grammar, anything beyond can you understand what the fuck I'm saying is you being pretentious.
Yes.
If you completely understood the sentence, like nothing I said slowed your ass down, then this was good speaking.
And that's the thing with spelling.
Absolutely, yes.
Different languages use different letters or the combination of characters.
And because we live in an increasingly globalized society, because I grew up reading authors who I didn't know were from the United Kingdom, but because I ended up reading so many authors who were from the United Kingdom, I developed the habit of spelling words like armor, color, any other words, labor, with O-U-R. I ended up spelling words like theater and center with the R and the E reverse. So C-E-N-T-R-E, T-H-E-A-T-R-E. And, that's stuff that you get marked off on in school when the teacher's trying to hold you to a standard of objective truth that doesn't exist. Grammar is subjective, and it is based off of the experience, which is, okay. So but that was linguistic and cultural truth.
Conventional truth. Conventional truth is based on social agreements or conventions. It's what a group of people accepts as true for practical purposes. Within a community or language group, people agree to call a certain color blue. This agreement allows for effective communication, even if another group might categorize the same color differently. Oh, this is church because we see conventional truths church by church. We see this. We see this often, yeah.
And really, what we're really highlighting here is not necessarily that truth changes, but that our relationship with truth changes. You know, but and it kind of goes back to the same thing. It's all to save time. This is how we end up being superstitious in the first place. Is it easier to say this is a measurement of wavelength that ranges between 490, 4 something to 490, or is it easier to say blue? As long as you know everybody else in that room understands that this color is blue. It's only when you have to be mindful of other people in the room, which this is why these things become important, that this becomes troubling. Because then if there is somebody else in the room who comes from a different cultural experience, if you don't understand that blue is a construct and not the objective truth, that blue is a cultural truth, not an objective truth. If you don't understand that, if somebody else in that room says, no, that's not blue, that's black, you're going to say something is wrong with you.
Right.
You might even think that something is biologically wrong with them. You need to have your eyes checked.
Yeah.
But that's only because you've confused a cultural truth, which is more so about your perception and about what is convenient for communicating with where you are, which means this is accurate, but it's not 100% true.
Yeah.
But the truth language isn't necessary unless you're in rooms with people who don't have that cultural connection. Which companies go through this same thing with jargon.
Yeah.
So jargon, when you use this word, the people in your company know this word. They accept this word. They operate in this word. They know exactly what to do. But then someone who comes outside of your cultural context, if this word is jargon, and I basically describe jargon as anything that can't be Googled and defined on the first sentence. If it's not there on the first time, then that means this is not a very well-known word. If Google don't know it, you know what I'm saying? That this is just your company's little words.
Yeah.
But jargon works in that same way. Will you hit relative truth too? Because then I just want to do pragmatic truth.
Yeah, and that just, I knew you were going to do it. But that reminded me of when you talk about the story about the red shirt and the orange shirt when you were younger. It's because it's red and orange.
And they were literally like mad at each other about which color the shirt was.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, man.
Yeah. And so you also can see relative truth. Relative truth suggests that what is true can depend on the context or frame of reference. It's not absolute and can change based on circumstances. The truth about what color is called blue is relative to the language and culture. What one culture identifies as blue, another might again as green or even black. This is Aston, y'all.
Aston, everybody. What you want? All right. So, and that's good. And that brings us to the last one of this section, and that's pragmatic truth. Yes, that is our dog. He's a beagle. We love him. He'll be 2 years old this year.
Yeah.
Yes. Banger stream with the dog. I love it. I love it. Do not get in my green, dog. Oh, I love it. So pragmatic truth, and this is the one that's probably the most important to me as a pragmatist. I am a pragmatist, if you haven't recognized it by now. But pragmatic truth focuses on the practical usefulness of a belief or statement. If something works or has practical effects, it's considered true in this sense. Even if the categorization of blue isn't universal, using the term within a community has practical utility. It allows people to communicate and coordinate effectively, making it pragmatically useful for them. And that's definitely where I live. I think the two most important types of truths to me is objective truth and pragmatic truth. But then sometimes objective truth can get really menial, for a lack of better words, and that's probably probably granular is a better word, because sometimes we can start dealing with issues of objective truth that even if we came up with the answer, there would be no utility for it. Which is like why I don't get into a lot of metaphysical conversations.
Right.
I am one of those people of the philosophical persuasion that I'm not saying people shouldn't be interested in metaphysics, because metaphysics is a branch of philosophy. I'm just one of those people who believes that it shouldn't be.
You shouldn't.
It needs to be its own thing. Like it needs to go the way of alchemy, in my humble opinion. Oh man, yes, yes. And so the main reason we kind of wanted to walk through these, because we kind of opened this up and said, one of the reasons we do have trust issues is because truth is often untrustworthy, or at least our experience with it. So if you imagine you're the person who's known blue as blue your whole life, and then you journey to a culture, you live in a different land where they say, no, this is green. And maybe you don't have the full story behind how it became green for them. At that moment, it's just like finding out that Santa Claus isn't real.
Yeah.
No, I've been calling this blue my whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those moments.
Popping up.
And so, a lot of times it's that we think we don't trust ourselves, which is what we kind of hit last week, this idea of not trusting ourselves and not trusting others. But it's also not trusting truth itself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you hear this echoed a lot of times, specifically from believers, when they say science is always changing. And that's their reason for not wanting to trust the science. But like the reason that we don't want to trust religion is because that it's not changing. It was wrong yesterday, it's wrong today, and it's going to be wrong tomorrow. But science is typically wrong yesterday and is doing its best to get it right today.
And that's where you see the sincerity in it.
Yes.
And so it's kind of odd to fight against that.
Yes, for sure. And so just to kind of recap this variance that we kind of experience in truth, there's levels to this. There is objective truth. And those are the things that are not really debatable. We got empirical evidence. We can build on these things. And to me, all forms of truth deal with utility to me. Is it useful? So when people are talking to me about anything, my question is it don't trust the science is only half the part. The other half is to put in the efforts to verify the science. Yeah. Absolutely. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And so it's these different, different types of truth. But my question of any form of truth is, what is going to be the utility of that truth? What can be built on? What can we build on that? What can be repeatable? And so using this color scenario, we see that how, yes, calling something blue or green or black or any other thing is not exactly objectively true. But even racially, you have these things, especially within the Black community. There are entire subgroups within the Black community who absolutely object and are absolutely offended by the idea of calling Black people, because to them, that is not objectively true. To them, we are not Black, we are brownish. To me, I find that argument tedious, pedantic, like fruitless. Like, okay, we changed what we're calling ourselves. What's the utility of that? And so that's why, to me, all types of truth, I ultimately want to deal with the utility of those truths. So whether it's objective, whether it's subjective, whether it's cultural, whether it's relative, or whether it's pragmatic, pragmatic is going to be useful. Because that's my whole point. That's me. But because truth is the language that is used to describe our experience in this world, and because we are not yet the masters of this experience, the concept of truth isn't monolithic. Nobody owns it yet. Nobody has the patent for what is true yet. Even what is objectively true is objectively true until we get better understandings of the model.
Right.
And I don't just say that, in any distrusting way of science. I absolutely love the tool of science. I love the investigation of science. I love the language of science. I say that just in honor of the reality that of the 14 plus billion years of this universe, our species has only been here roughly 200,000, give or take. And from that time, it's only been about 10,000 years, give or take, that we've been actively collaborating and cooperating. And then it's only been about 500 years, and that's being gracious, that we've actually been cooperating globally. And again, I'm being gracious. And then with all of this time that has passed, these 14 plus billion years, 95% of what could possibly be known has already escaped our grasp, at least according to modern science's understanding. I'm hoping we accelerate so wonderfully over the next, century or so that we can, get out beyond the 5% that we're kind of trapped in now. But that's why I say that it's damn near impossible for at this moment for anybody to have a patent on objective truth from a world perspective, universal perspective. And that's what I love about science, is science does kind of understand that. That's why it's always open to reinvestigate itself and update according to new information, which is a major part of one of our values with Bridge City. Is we are progressive thinking, progressive thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming. And that progressive thinking is just this aspect of understanding that I don't know it all yet.
Yeah. So
I got to be open to new information. Even if that new information isn't right, I at least got to be willing to wrestle with it and figure out it before I even know if it's right or not.
And that's why I say I love when you say intelligence is not what you know, but knowing what you don't know.
That's right. To me, like, that's what it's, and that, it's definitely anecdotal. So I don't want anybody to use that as a definition. But it's something that that's right. It's basically how we know anything at all. Yes. But yeah, it's, I love it. I love it. So we have to remember, or at least from my perspective, that we are the blind people touching the elephant.
Yeah.
An accurate understanding of what is true will by necessity be dependent on our willingness to learn from others who are touching different parts of the whole. In my mind, that's one of the most exciting prospects about potentially finding intelligent life anywhere else in the universe, is that through them, we will get insight into a part of this massive elephant that we're too blind to get a big picture of, But in the same way, we are very much like the people in the cave as well. Realizing that the shadows are mere reflections doesn't immediately enable us with a complete understanding of the situation. There are levels to this, and we should likely be humbled by how far we're down relative to time. Again, we're in our infancy as it comes to what is true. We're still figuring this thing out. We're still navigating. I think in the context of what humanity could be, we will look back on where we are today and say, man, we were just crawling in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or, and maybe that's my sci-fi stuff in me. I don't know. But we inadvertently introduced 3 key theories of truth in today's session. And these are for those of you who are interested in studying these things out on your own time and maybe incorporating some things to follow up on. And they are the correspondence theory of truth. And that is, truth corresponds to reality, which is typically dealing with objective truth. The coherence theory of truth is that truth is consistent within a particular system. And that's where we highlighted cultural or linguistic truth. And then the pragmatic theory of truth. Truth is what works in practice. These theories highlight that truth can be understood differently depending on the philosophical lens applied, further emphasizing the multifaceted nature of truth in the human experience. Oh, man,
a lot of info.
Yes, learning so much. That is awesome.
Who knew so much can go into just the word truth?
Just the word truth, right?
That concept.
Yes. One of the things that I absolutely love about these sessions is that yes, okay, walking outside the light is a different thing entirely and would even blind us momentarily before giving us the new understanding. Oh, that's so oh man, I love philosophy. This is one thing I love about deconverting is that now, and obviously I'm still using my Sundays for people, because that was a me thing. But what I love about this is we can now have conversations that actually matter, that are important, that are truly consistent with the times of contemporization. And we're actually all learning. This is incredible. And I can't wait to build this out further and to platform more voices and more ideas and to have more conversations, because we have a lot coming up. Speaking of which, next Sunday's conversation, for those of you who plan on joining us again next week, and hey, why not bring a friend? Why not host especially for those of you who are literally interested in building physical, tangible community where you are. Why not start inviting people to watch some of these sessions with you where you are? Y'all get some milk and cookies, some tea and crumpets, some love and sausages, whatever it is. I said that because I saw Muttley on the screen. Yes, I love it. You get to some of those things and y'all sit together and watch it live and have conversations, and that's how you build community where you are.
Because it's FAQ Sunday.
Especially because it's FAQ Sunday.
Yes.
And so next week, next week's topic for this series will be, who can I run to? Oh, well, not next week. I'm sorry.
The week after.
The week after next. So the next time we come to this, it'll be who can I run to, because next week is FAQ Sunday. So the next installment of Trust Issues will be who can I run to?
First week of October.
First week of October. And that's also going to be the Ex-Pastor call-in show.
Who's ready? What? Are we on the fourth one?
We're on the fourth one.
Yeah.
This is season 1,
October
episode 4.
6th.
And there was something else I was going to say. There was something else. Oh, next Sunday will be a little different because we'll be in 2 different spaces, because I'm going to be in Charlottesville, Virginia. I don't know if it's Charlottesville or Charlottesville, but I'm going to be in Charlottesville, Virginia at the Recovering from Religion Fall Retreat. And so I'll be doing my best to go live from there so that we can all still participate and have a great time. Babe, I think that's all I got for now. So I will turn it over for you for the close.
Yes. And thank you all for your super chats. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. If you have liked the video, thank you. If you haven't, go ahead. What you waiting on? Go ahead and like the video. Show some love. Share it. Come back and comment even after the live. We definitely appreciate that as well. If you haven't checked out the merch, go ahead, check out the merch. Use the discount code that was posted earlier in the chat, FAQ Sunday, all caps, to get a discount on that as well. Share this with any and everybody that you can. Don't let your neighbor keep sleeping on information. No. But if you value these types of conversations, if you value the work that we're doing, that my husband is doing, even during the week, we've made it even easier for you to continue to support. You can do that through Patreon, becoming a Patreon member. Thank you to all those who are a Patreon right now. Super chats, you can purchase merch. And then you can look at other ways through the links in the description if you need to get to it that way. You could become a YouTube member. Thank you, Alexander, for coming a YouTube member today. We appreciate it. Your financial support, we work very hard to be upfront on what we're doing, why we're doing, how we're doing. So your financial support, it does help to improve the quality and the quantity of what we do. It helps us to get more resources, develop resources so that we can support what we're doing, building community, building the online space. We definitely appreciate those who have already done it so far. It helps us with networking, projects to accelerate people-centric community development as far as we can, not even just where we are, but expanding that. So we appreciate you. And again, if you don't have the money to give or to join any of the Patreon, the YouTube members, just you being here, participating, commenting, engaging, those on Discord, all of our volunteers. Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Cal. You all did an awesome job today helping us out on the back end.
Yes.
With everything. We just are so thankful at the pace that we're pacing at, you know, for this year. So
I want to say, I think one of the reasons that the past 2 Sundays have gone just magnificently well is because we've had more people supporting. I know it's been a lot less stressful for me, so I can kind of engage a little bit more. And so I cannot stress enough how much we appreciate you, Kyle, how much we appreciate you, Dale. And I don't know who else is watching and who else is here, but how much we appreciate you, Patty, Zernal, Alyssa. I was gonna email you all this weekend, but life is busy right now. But you all are awesome, and y'all are making this happen. Y'all are making this real, and that means the world to me. Also, our YouTube channel is almost at 5,000 subscribers. We are literally what, 81 away? Am I doing the math right?
81. Yeah, 89.
89. All right, 89. We're 89 subscribers away. So would y'all do us a favor and push the hell out of this channel this week? Right? Yes, I love it.
Thank you,
I love it. Push the hell out of this channel this week. Let's keep on pushing these thresholds because again, we want to do our best to help platform other content creators who are committed to community, so we can get this thing happening, so we can get community out here and create real community solutions for people, because it is about moving the world forward. I love having these conversations, but I am looking forward to the day that we can move even beyond these conversations and to actually creating catalysts for our communities that eventually can just, play a major role in making this whole planet situation a better situation for everybody on it, to the point where we get to a place where we are a global society that is progressive thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming. That's my goal.
And because also we have 4 teenagers, 4 young adults who have to
live in this world,
compete, live in this world, engage this world. We want to continue to make it better. For them and others.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
And so, hey, if you want to connect with Bridge City, you're wondering, what is Bridge City? What y'all got going over there? What are you trying to do? You can continue to join in everything that we're doing, whether it's the lives or the pre-loaded videos. Participating in the conversations. We appreciate the dialogue, and I love my husband for this because he tries to make it conversational and not just him talking one way all the time. He loves to hear what you have to say. We love engaging. If you don't know, I'm going to be the one that always responding. You may see me pop on other people chats and responses there, but that's me. So we love that. But we're going to drop a form in there in the chat where you can accept the invitation. You can, if you want to connect with us, you can just let us know, put your information there. It's a quick form. It's really not too gruesome. So fill that out. We'll also drop our website in the chat, dldd.us. You can visit us there if you haven't already, to learn more about our individual journeys and our journeys together. There's so much to us. There's so much that we have done separately, so much that we have done together, and that we plan to do. So just go ahead and check us out. And if you aren't on Discord, go ahead and set you up a Discord, and you can chat with us there and connect with others in the community. It is growing well there also.
Yes, and of course, and if you have some time after today's session, feel free to jump into the post-session hangout and hang out with some of our other community members and leaders.
Absolutely. Well, anything else you want to close?
The last thing I'll hit before we close out is, sometimes we run little surveys on our in our chats just to see how things are going. And today's survey was, are you new to the Bridge City Sunday Sessions experience? We had 57 votes. And out of the 57 votes, we had 51% of the people who voted. This was their first time experiencing Bridge City, and 49% of the people who were engaged today are people who have been coming back. That's incredible. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. And so that's amazing. And again, I'm not under any illusion that this is just me. That's the power of community. That's the power of community. It is just as much as how engaging you are in the chat. I mean, literally, some of you be having entire conversations that's beyond what we even talking about on the screen. And I don't ever want to discourage that, because I want you to understand it's those things. It's those things that makes community enjoyable. It's those community it's also those things that keeps community from becoming an echo chamber, when everybody's voice is valued and nobody's like, oh no, pastor talking, so I can't say nothing.
Yeah, I can't say
You know
nothing.
what I'm saying? So I love the freedom of just being able to be human and being able to enjoy and value other human beings. And so again, if you want to hang out in the Discord, please jump in there. There's always people in there now. It's been getting bigger and bigger. Every now and then we do try to jump in. Today we won't be able to, because we have one of the apostate sisters coming to hang out with us today. And they should be here in about 30 minutes. So we got to get ready for them. Even though I look good from shirt up, all of my pants are in the dryer. So I'm sure they're going to want to see me with pants on when they get here. But other than that, I think that's all I have. So thank y'all again for hanging out with us. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell. Consider joining our community, supporting the community in whatever ways that makes sense for you. Check out the merch, because it's dope as fuck. I think I want to put that on a shirt now. And yeah, that's it. So until next time, keep rising, be the bridge, stay progressive, and we'll holler at y'all later. Have a great day.
I don't want to waste my life. I don't want to waste my life.
It's just some things, there's no going back. You know what I'm saying?
jwoodbeats.com.
Yeah. I'm not the one with the issues. I hear you. Now here is your tissue. If I'm moving too fast, I might have to dismiss you. And it's really too bad, cause I really will miss you. But I'm not the one with the issues. I left him at church when I made it official. I murdered the curse with my own benediction. Left God in the dirt, call it death of the fiction. Superstition will be served in eviction. Competition will be left in the ditch. Oh my God, it's too damn hot in this kitchen. The fishes of men are now swimming with fishes. Oops, my bad, I guess I'm moving too vicious. Verses sold, I gotta put them on your wish list. Bless my soul, cause I'm dodging your little hit list. I guess you know, you just lost another witness.
Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, I'm out of here.
I can do anything, fuck your opinions and energy. I finally got the epitome. My biggest hindrance was God can't do nothing but fail. Greater is me. I never needed your deity. All of this human capacity. When it gets rough, I can pick myself up and prevail. Cause I don't need anything other than people who fuck with me. Good business, it starts with good company. That's why your boy is obsessed with community. Cause greater is we. We can create opportunity. Doing what God never did, cause a God never could. But a people is all we need.
Gotta let me go.